when I started off as a restaurateur 30 years ago, more than 30 years ago, हमने इतना ही सीखा था कि भैया मुनाफा इज़ द किंग. धंधे में मुनाफा होना बहुत ज़रूरी है. And that was all we knew about business. We did not hear the word called valuation, unlocking the value, building shareholders value. ये चीज़ें तो हमारे लिए मतलब एलियन थी तब. हमें इतना बताया गया था भाई गल्ला संभाल रहे हो पैसे आने चाहिए. And that is all we knew. But as I grew, and I'm going to set the context before we get all these learned gentlemen to speak about their experience on how to make money. So I had never heard of the word valuation till I met whom I call the OG restaurateur of India, a guy called Sanjay Narang. I'm sure all of you have heard about him. So I was lucky to work with him, and I remember in one of the conversations, he spoke about creating valuation. And he said, we'll get 10x, 12x. मैं बोला कोई पागल है क्या, कोई क्यों देगा, तुम 100 रुपए का धंधा करो, तुमको कोई वैल्यूएशन 800,000 रुपए का क्यों देगा. बोला ऐसे ही होता है. And that was my first introduction to this game of unlocking value, valuation, etc., etc. And I must add here, by the way, his company Mars Restaurants was the first F&B company in India to get a private equity. Yeah, and this was in the year 2000, if my memory serves me right, or 99 perhaps. So now we are sitting in an era where you meet a youngster of 24 years old who is starting off, and you talk to him, what do you want to be? He said, I want to bring in an IPO in 3 years. And I said, yaar, humne to IPO ka naam bhi nahi suna tha. So I think the way this industry has functioned has changed a lot. From seeking great operations leading to profitability versus seeking valuation is a very paradigm shift that the industry has seen. And today in this session, we are going to discuss this aspect with these wonderful people who have all built huge values in the businesses they command. So let me first start with Ankush. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, you know Ankush is leading what I call the largest internet restaurant company in the world. Am I right?
Yeah.
Rebel Food. Okay. So, Ankur, I remember when you first started, I think your first brand way back was Fasos, if I remember correctly, and you used to have these small stores of Fasos. From there to where you have become multiple brands virtually, if I pick up the heat map of India, you're probably present in 50-60% of the nation today. And to reach there, and and as we know, our industry is very operation heavy. How have you reached this stage, and what is that you would like to share with our audience on how to scale up to this level? I'm sorry, I'm first going to the biggest shark out here, because I think it's very important to understand from the modern context how to build companies of this magnitude without losing the essence of what you started off with.
Yeah, I think good afternoon, everyone. I think the context you gave, so if I look back at our journey for the last 13, 14 years, I think one thing we constantly worked on, what is as a founders, our purpose was to change the way industry works. So I think, the background we come from is engineering MBA. So what we try to do is put a lot of science behind how Indian cooking used to happen. Because if you look at how pizza is done, how burger is done, it is very 4 steps thing. So that's the first challenge. So when Faso started, it was all about having an Indian chain in India. But then we kept pivoting, kept finding new answers and new solutions. I think the biggest realization was how technology changed everything in the last 2 decades. So from Walmart to Amazon, from movies to Netflix, to hotels to Airbnb, how does the same thing happen in food? And that's what we challenge, one location, one restaurant versus one location, multiple restaurants. So that's a lot of what we do depends on the technology, a lot of science. Obviously, food is something which goes inside the body, so quality is very, very important. Taste is again very, very important.
So Ankush, I'm going to ask you a question which is very basic in nature. When somebody from my vintage started the restaurant, it was all about creating experiences. कि यार मेरे रेस्टोरेंट में हम एक रेस्टोरेंट खोलते थे, अगले 3 साल कुछ नहीं करते तो हमको लगता है बहुत काम कर रहे हैं हम. Okay, and to give you the story of Indigo, the first Indigo started in 99, then next one opened in 2005, after that in 2008. तुम तो बोलोगे इतने सेल में तो रिटायर होने का टाइम आ जाता है.
So the fun fact, I come from a family, we have one shop in Jalandhar which is 200 years old.
Wow.
Only one.
Wow.
Which does only kachoris
So
in the morning.
that's like the change of mindset. So I'm just saying,
So-
for us, restauranting was all about experience, creating experiences in the restaurant. You brought about this whole change, where it is the experience is not at a physical location, but it is around, I would say, the product, the packaging, the way it travels, etc. How did you dare to take a risk like that? That यार मैं खाना भेज के भी experience create कर लूँगा. मैं तो नहीं कर सकता था कभी.
Yeah, so there are two philosophies we developed. One is called every time giving a UMD experience, which is unique, memorable, and delightful. So whatever we do, we make sure that everything we do is unique. At the end of the day, memorable, and customer ends with a delight. And on the other side, so like for a restaurant, the touch point is coming to your ambience, your service staff, your menu, someone explaining the menu. We try to figure out how we can do that all digitally. And then there are 4 things which we felt will always be important in food, which is QCVH, which is quality, convenience, value for money, and hygiene.
भाई तुम ये हर चीज को ये एब्रीविएट करके जो समय बचाते हो उसका करते क्या हो ये बताओ मेरे को तो.
Expansion.
दिस इज समथिंग आई हियर विद मोस्ट ऑफ द करंट जनरेशन. वो हर मतलब आई डोंट नो बोलने की जगह IDK बोलते हैं. इतना समय बचा के करते क्या हो यार.
No. So the reason is when you run a place, there are 20 people, you have be there. Like for me, it's now 8,000 plus people. How do I communicate? So I have to make things which are easy to remember. So UMD, QCVH. We have something called as a Rebel Promise, which is very simple. Day one, someone joins. The first thing we now teach them is Rebel Promise. And very simple. If the food is not right, it is not going out of the kitchen. Very
Right.
simple.
Simple, very nice.
So I think simplifying, using technology is what we have done, and that's helped us scale. That inside kitchen, no one has to use brain, even me. That
So-
system takes care of everything.
So physical experience versus cyber experience is what we are talking about.
yeah,
Okay.
I think, and we know now people love to chat rather than talk.
I agree there. Aajkal, I think I call a few people in the current generation digital slaves. They are not using the phone. Phone is using them. Okay. Thanks for your inputs. Now I'm going to come to Tarak. Tarak, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, runs this chain called Mad Over Donuts. Now I again come from a generation जब हम donut को बोलते थे मीठा मेदू वड़ा.
आपने वापस बजा दिया मेरा.
So no, I'm gonna on a serious note. See now what Ankush has done. He has created a homegrown brand. While you are somebody, you have brought in an international brand into India and grown them into such large scale. And I think now you're one of the significant markets for them globally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, tell me, I mean, how did this whole thing start and what was your whole thought and idea, not only about how to start, where do you want to take this eventually?
So what started off was more like a hobby, I think. And our founder and the one who created this brand out of Singapore wanted a franchise of Krispy Kreme, which he didn't get. Now, whether it was anger or the destruction, I don't know. But he thought that this was quite a novel brand and novel product, actually, more than the brand. I think brand was not there at that time. And then pizza, burgers, everything was happening in this country during that time. Coffee shops was coming in large numbers. I came from that background of coffee shop for doing 10 years. So he said, we are from Singapore, obviously, but then we thought that India is a great market to be in with the kind of people, etc., with the kind of population, etc., with people just getting there, in terms of understanding global markets, understanding traveling a lot. So that came into India. We didn't take off, frankly speaking. We went to malls, actually malls never told us anything, said that they will not give you space because what you sell in a coffee shop typically was 5-7 donuts a day. How will make this as a business? you'll fail. So,
That's right. I would think similarly.
yeah. How are you trying to create a category in this country where people, during that time, I remember some 15 years back, there were still people going to B school, etc. We're just going there and, but we persisted, I think. I think first store didn't do well, second store didn't do well. And I don't know why did we open the third one. But when we opened the third one, frankly speaking, that is where it clicked. So we opened in a place called Breach Candy. The store is still existing. And we started raking numbers.
Small store.
Very small store. 15 years back, we used to cross 2.5 million a month. Yeah, that was the number we are talking about.
Wow.
And that gave us a lot of hope, I think, more than the business model, I think. I think people started liking the donuts. They associated themselves with MOD on an everyday basis. We became an occasion partner for everybody, be a Holi, Diwali, Rakhi, etc. And that is where it all started. Although it was not still a business model, but I thought that we could have taken this to places. That's how we started opening a little bit stores. We went up to 35 in 1 year. And in the next year, we closed 30 of them.
Okay. So it's a, no, I mean, it's a story of conviction.
Yeah.
It's a story of conviction that I think this is something that India is ready for, and I'll take it to the country.
Yeah, so we learned our lessons with losing a lot of money. I will not deny that. But we knew there was a conviction and there was
But
persistence.
isn't that very fashionable to say today? I'm burning cash.
For us, no way.
No?
No, we are a
Good.
profitable company now. And even at the corporate level, we make money every year.
Good.
And with the same money, and we don't have any Shark Tank sitting on our head today, no investors, no bankers. It is us and the new stores what we open with our own money.
Fantastic.
So
fantastic.
that's a small story
No,
about
it's a
MOD.
beautiful story, and how different these stories run. You know, if you guys realize the trajectory of what Ankush is doing, what he's doing is so different. Now I'm going to come to you. Looking at your age and knowing about the brand little, I think you are a second generation guy.
Correct.
I can very clearly see that. So how easy or difficult was it for you to, when you took or when you started, when you joined the business, how many outlets did you have at that point of time?
At that point, we had about 28 outlets.
At that time?
Yeah. This is roughly 8 years back. Today, we have about 45.
Wow. So again, you know, so I'll share my first experience. It was in Juhu, and I entered the restaurant without knowing that you were a pure vegetarian restaurant. I went, and my first order at your restaurant was only a bottle of water, and then I walked out. Because for me, going to a vegetarian Italian restaurant and having pure vegetarian food wasn't the idea then. Today, it might be different. So tell me, I mean, I'm sure you've heard it through your parents or whoever, how this whole idea of doing this eatery, which is serving brilliant Italian food, but purely vegetarian, occurred to you. And did you ever think that I need to do something differently in my current generation? Let's begin with this. I'm going to come to the core topic after this first round.
Right. So just a bit about our story and how we started. We started in Pune in 1989. My father, who founded the restaurant, was a hotelier at that point of time. And at that time in Pune, we had the Osho commune, which was very famous with a lot of foreigners. And he made friends with an Italian chef. And eventually they decided to start a small pizzeria in the basement. And that's where the idea started from. And that's why Italian and a lot of Europeans at the time who came to India did not really have food that they were familiar with. And we're Gujaratis, our family is Gujarati vegetarian. And the followers who attended the Osho commune also followed a Sattvic diet. So that time it really was a perfect marriage, and that's how it started, and that's why it was vegetarian. Of course, is not really common with Italian food. But over the years, we realized that it was really a niche or a USP that we've managed to carve out for ourselves, with the Gujaratis and Marwaris being avid fans of the brand, and majority of our customers today. So that's been the brand philosophy and sort of the brand identity today, that we do vegetarian Italian food. And it's been working well. You know, people know Little Italy for vegetarian Italian food today. Although we've thought about the idea of non-vegetarian, but not under the same brand. Perhaps with a different brand we would do it at some point. But currently we're focusing on Italian vegetarian food. expanding with the same to newer geographies in India and abroad. So that's what we're doing currently.
So basically, you are continuing doing what your parents started to do, and you don't think there is a need to reinvent or recreate something new.
I mean, I feel currently that's there is a lot to be done with Little itself. With that being said, in the recent years, we've introduced a fair few brands to add to our portfolio. So we have Piazza, which is a non-veg QSR pizza concept, is a Roman-style sourdough
Sorry, what's
pizza.
the name you said?
It's called Piazza. Piazza. So it's a Roman-style sourdough pizza concept. We have Senorita's Mexican Kitchen, which does Mexican food, and we have Tutto Bene, which is a lifestyle Gen Z forward cafe. So these are new brands that we've added in the last 2 or 3 years, which we're expanding as well. But our flagship remains to be Little Italy.
You know, I'm amazed at the cross section of experiences we have on the dais today. Here is someone who has brought food which is very unconventional to India, and it's an international brand, and he has made it big. Here is a man who has created, I think, just about everything that an Indian consumes. In fact, I would go a step forward. I think you guys have also created habits for people. And then I have you, who is picking up a cuisine which is intrinsically about meat, made it pure vegetarian, and did it so successfully. So it's a brilliant, when I come to the next section of my discussion, I think it will be very interesting background to have. Now I'm going to come to you, Neeraj. So, Neeraj, what about you? How did your whole story start, go, continuing, and what is there you want, where do you want to reach?
So it's been an interesting journey. I've been a management graduate, worked 3 companies in a professional avatar for 20 odd years, nothing to do with food all these years. And then we started a company called Cellfrost way back in 2004, scale it up, begin to like what you guys do. And that's where, after years of being in business and professionalism, we realized this is our calling. This is such an interesting stuff. Talking to consumers who consume food is their passion, food and beverages. So that's where I think our calling started. We scaled up that brand, wanted to take it global, ended up making a conversation with Middleby Corporation, which is one of the biggest food service companies based out of US. But to cut the long story short, they ended up buying us out. So I continued to be the president of the acquired entity for some time, exited and started through Frost & Butler. It's been 7 years in the making. I consider myself as a work in progress, an accidental entrepreneur, but finally an entrepreneur who loves to do what I am doing right now, working with people who are doing such interesting brand building, people on the dais. But there's been a tremendous process of rediscovery in all these years. Rediscovery in the sense, you know, a lot of people, when we started our first venture, we had no capital and we were bootstrapped. How we got to where we got, it's purely luck.
So you're talking about Cellfrost?
This is what talking about Cellfrost. So there I think, and I discovered one thing, that your needs, objectives, goals in life evolve. So back then, first entrepreneurship, zero capital, you have to fend a family. So your objective was to afford a family, to be able to give them a life. But having monetized that operation, it's been a complete process of rediscovery. We decide to come back in business not with the intent of making money. Money should be a good milestone. It is an indicator of what you're doing and if you're doing it right. But I think now the whole concept is to leave a legacy, to solve problems which you guys are facing. And in my last 20 years, I have seen tremendous problems, problems which remain unsolved, problems which are given a lip service in the industry, problems which enable restaurants, cafes, coffee shops, bakeries to expand. So therefore, our focus in the last 7 years has been what problem should we solve? 2, how should we solve it? 3, what do we mean to people like you? What should we, so what is the brand positioning I want for myself? So that's been the a process, which has got us to where we have, and we can talk about this later maybe.
No, I'm going to continue with you.
Okay?
So now I understand the Selfrost story. You already did what was the topic of this. You built a brand, you built a certain valuation, and you eventually exited that business. What plans for the new baby?
So, yes, this is a question which is asked quite often to me, and some of the serious players who are ramping up, Ankush being one of them, we've been asked this many times over, ye kab bechoge? You know? So here's the answer. The truthful answer is this time around, no. I think we were nervous the last time around. We came from very humble backgrounds. And when the opportunity, and we were also leveraged very highly. So you feel nervous when you're leveraged. So we did what we did. Here, I think the dreams are very different. We want to continue to solve problems. We want to leave a legacy. And therefore, maybe if we get lucky, we are building ourselves in a manner that we'll look at a potential IPO at some point in time. We want to remain invested. We want to see the upside this time clearly around and continue to solve problems which are very peculiar to this industry.
So let me ask you a hypothetical question before I come back to other panelists. Given a choice, if you had no major leverage or something, would you have still exited Selfrost or would you have grown it further?
See, I tell you what, I'm a person who does not live in regret. I think a better way to answer that question is now what we've created, True Frost and Butler, it has been motivated by what we could have done in Selfrost, but what we should
Interesting.
not do now.
Interesting.
So I think success teaches you two things. One is what to do, what to continue to do, what has made you successful, and the other is what not to do. It's a choice you exercise. So this time around, we want to, the food service industry, the equipment industry in India is very highly polarized. So you got a Merck on the upper end, and you got a Mazda car, which is, I use this analogy quite often, that there's unreliable equipment out there which defocuses or saps a lot of your energy, or there is very high capital intensive equipment which makes you unviable sometimes. So what we want to mean is to be a Hyundai Creta or a Honda in the market, a functional product which can be serviced across the country. You know, if Rebel has 800 kitchens across the country, we are there in all the 800 kitchens for them, and so on and so forth. So that's the way we've tried to build ourselves up. And, and we also feel that another pain point of the industry is trying to make an idiot-proof offering for the consumer, producing a good quality food or beverage consistently across stores, across kitchens, across geographies. And that can only happen if you inject some kind of tech, artificial intelligence, a lot of technology in the product and in how you solve problems. And that's what we seem to be doing very meticulously.
Fantastic, fantastic. Very nice. So if I'm reading it right, it's something you're doing now where you're enjoying the process of doing what you're doing, and probably profitability is an outcome of what you're doing.
Yeah, so the answer to the first part is enormously enjoying. And we're very passionate. I work, despite being 65 years old, I work 16 to 18 hours a day. And I thoroughly enjoy what I do. Yes, of course, the second part is that we are here to stay and we'd like to continue to solve a lot of industry's problems.
Yeah,
and profitability, yes, the better part of the
100%.
answer is that I am old school, so we are not building for valuation. What we earn today, we put back in the company. Of course, we've done a fundraise, but that's been because there was a lot of opportunity we were losing. There is growth capital needed to, if you're growing at a faster pace than organically you can, and then I think it is foolish of you not to inject growth capital. And now there is a BIS situation. We will talk about this later because this is one of the biggest challenges the industry is facing. So if we want to leverage on that, then I think significant investment is needed. We cannot do it with organic growth.
No, and I agree with you. You know, some people, so I'll tell you a real example. I mean, I was talking to somebody for a large wedding catering. I have a catering business as well. And that person at one point of time asked me, आप प्रॉफिट के पीछे क्यों लगे हुए हो? मैंने बोला क्योंकि मैं रजिस्ट्रार ऑफ कंपनी में रजिस्टर्ड हूँ, चैरिटी कमिश्नर के पास नहीं. Why should one be apologetic about making money? What is the idea of doing any business? So thank you, at least you are saying that. So now, Ankush, I'm going to come to you again. Now the real fun begins. So while, you know, my vintage thinks that making profitability is the only way to make a business run, you are the modern czar of business who thinks burning cash is very okay. Where do you get this courage from, first of all, before I go to the brass tacks? Where do you get the courage to burn the cash? हमारा तो एक महीने में नुकसान होता है तो मैं 3 दिन तक नींद नहीं आती है.
It's not, I don't call it burn cash. And honestly, when I came on board the first month, when I saw 1 crore का sale है, 1 crore का loss है, ये चल क्या रहा है? So, but again, where we are today and what we have built today is gonna throw back a lot more working capital, a lot more cash back into what we have built. I think it's just an investment rather than saying, because just to give you an example, a typical restaurant, whatever you take, whatever scale, will handle what, 100 SKUs, 150 SKUs? Today, our kitchen, we manage 1,000 SKUs. Now, any company I go and say,
Multiple
make me
brands
a,
and-
multiple brands, that make me a tech who can manage 1,000 SKUs, they will say, oh, the development cost will be so high. So I think what we build is, and it took so many years to get to that machine, or you say the innovation we have done. We only know what is going to bring. And if I look back at my last 3 years, our profitability is not moving in a linear line. So from a deep negatives, we are almost there now because our profitability is moving in chunks. Because entire top line we get. Just to give you an example, Wendy's, McDonald's in India took 10 years to build 100 stores. We have done this for Wendy's in 200 stores in just 4 years. Today, if I have to put a brand across the nation in all my 400 kitchens, it is just going to take me 3 months. If you talk any brand, say, okay, 400 location खोलनी है India में कितना time लगेगा? Answer is going to be 10 years. So time versus money, I think we valued what we build that saves time for the future and let us scale. So now for me,
you have invested to create infrastructure for the future.
Infrastructure, and I think more importantly, the whole operating system which Rebel has today, which let me launch. So we launched so we have 3 biryani brand now. We launched another biryani brand. We realized there is an opportunity of one more biryani brand which we should do, and this is the category. It is, so today if I ask my 20% business is coming from the brands I've launched last year.
Wow.
So that's the ability which we built over the last 10 years, the muscle we built over the last 10 years by investing into the vision we had. So again, I think as a founder, you always have a purpose, and for that purpose, you get investors who believe it at a private level.
मैं देखो मुझे कोई शक नहीं है कि तुम profitable भी बन जाओगे और बहुत जल्दी maybe I should share you will probably be doing an IPO very soon. Everybody knows that. मैं तो अलग सवाल पूछ रहा था, इतनी हिम्मत कहाँ से लाते हो भाई कि तुम मतलब I'm burning cash but it's okay.
I think नाम में ही आंसर है सर. नाम में ही
Yes,
आंसर है.
I think that's where it is.
Yeah.
Okay, in case this is becoming a bit of a monologue, anybody has any questions right now, happy to take it to any of the panelists. Or otherwise, we'll continue with our discussion, what we are doing. Please raise your hands in case you want to be a part of this conversation. Yes, please. Somebody take a mic.
Hi, my name is Naveen Mittal. I had a question for Tarak.
Good afternoon, yeah.
Good afternoon. You mentioned that you opened 3 outlets and then you probably opened 35 and you shut down 30. So the question becomes once again, where do you find the money to burn, or where do you find the heart to burn the money?
Well, it's the most difficult question you asked. I would not like to tell you where did I get the money. No, but generally, I'll tell you what, there is something when the business starts happening, you tend to invest in some kind of cash and keep it in the bank. We used that money and kept on using it unless it got over. And suddenly one day we realized that, listen, it's all over now. Either you start from scratch or shut shop and go back home. We started again. And that's why I think we realized our fault faster than anybody else. I think I always say that fail faster and get up and get going. But don't elongate it. So even if our store today is going beyond a 9 to a 12 months delivery of ROI, we shut shop. There is no emotional background we carry along. Well, it gets very difficult for me whenever I shut shop, whenever it happens. But in the last 6 years, I think we have shut only 1 shop, I think. So that's the achievement and that's the learning we had all these years.
I think it's a very normal thing in any business the biggest of the corporates in the world had to shut some part of their businesses. I also feel, you know, just taking it from what Tara was saying, as a restaurateur, as an entrepreneur, you get that conviction that this is going to work. It's only a temporary glitch, and then that gives you enough ammunition to go ahead. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. And basically, when you are so attached to the brand, when you have worked so hard to make that happen, and suddenly when you want to shut one day, you get very emotional about it. And not to say, actually, you cry about it. Frankly speaking, I've cried when we shut store. But if you have emotion in business, it gets a little, you have to balance it out sometimes, I always think.
No, end of the day, business is about being practical.
I think one thing we all just forgot, we are 2025. We all seen what happened in COVID, right? Eventually everything shut down, right? So I think what we have seen in the last 3-4 years and things coming back to where they are, I think it's a very simple concept called in finance called sunk cost. Rather than continuing with something which is not working, sometimes you just go take a couple of step backs and then build on it, rather than building on something which is not going to help you going forward. So I think they have shut 35. We, I think, should have 100 kitchens.
No, totally agree with you. I rather let go of that capital than keep burning cash behind it. It's a very prudent thing to do.
Sunk cost is...
yes. हो गया भैया देखो एक बहुत सिंपल सा बात है जो लोग फैसले करते हैं वही सही या गलत फैसले करेंगे so there is nothing to feel bad about it. The same people who shut 5 restaurants also open 35. So end of the day, they are the people who are taking the calls and everybody. I mean, otherwise हम में और भगवान में फर्क क्या रह जाएगा अगर हम सारे डिसीजन सही करेंगे तो. As long as you are making the decision in full conviction, you are doing right. You know, nobody knows whether your decisions will be good or bad, right or wrong. But you must always be proud if they are your own. You know? So, let me come back to Amrut now. Amrut, abhi batao, abhi kya you also think of unlocking value for your family, next generation, because you know when the next generation comes, there are more people who want to be part of the business. Do you foresee yourself unlocking the value of the company, which I would call is a legacy brand?
Right. Yes, the simple answer is yes. I think the new generation with myself has a little bit of a different perspective to it. The earlier generation with my father and all never even discussed the idea or never saw it as an option, really. But, you know, similar to what many of you have said today, that, you know, if you aren't growing at the same rate as the market or you aren't using the amount of capital your competitors are, you are degrowing and losing market share. I feel there is a big opportunity cost to lose if we aren't growing at the same rate and, you know, unlocking the same capital and growing to more and more cities. So I feel that's my perspective to it. In order to really capitalize on the opportunity that India has as a consumer market, with markets that are opening up, the new cities, and also internationally for us. So I feel we are looking into the idea of unlocking value, probably diluting some share, and being able to grow at a faster rate, basically.
So basically to generate some growth capital for more aggressive growth.
Correct.
Okay, so not really unlocking the value for yourselves for now.
I mean, en route to that, but
and-
eventually.
And why not? No, I'm going to just shift my focus a little bit. We have talked about this valuation and everything. Tell me, guys, and especially Ankush and Amrut, would you ever not think of taking these homegrown Indian brands international? There is today, I personally feel that in terms of sheer varietal, sheer, you know, the depth of cuisine, we are far ahead of an entire continent. Why are we not taking our food international? Would you do that? And do you think that's a great way to not only take Indian food overseas, but do it profitably? Do you see that as an opportunity? I'll take both of you one by one on this.
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity. I feel, especially for us, we are looking at it. We are in the UAE market currently, in Thailand, and looking to expand to the UK and the US as well. I feel our Indian cuisine in general, although we do Italian, Indian food is very underserved on the global stage and is limited to the few dishes that we know, and there is a large opportunity there to unlock, especially now with the Indian diaspora as a whole. You know, being in leadership positions in thriving countries and having so much of capital to have the expenditure for to fuel the Indian brands to grow over there. Like we see brands like Sarvana Bhavan, Bikanerwala and Haldiram's already doing it. But I feel that's still just the tip of the iceberg and there's so much to do over there, which I'm sure Ankush can add to.
No, before I come back to you, Ankush, on this, Amrut, I have a little different question to that. You used a word because of Indian diaspora all over the world. Why not take the Indian food to the world? If Indians can consume burgers and Italian food and donuts, why can't we take our dosas and biryanis and kathi rolls to the world?
No, of course, I think that too is a great opportunity. For us, the way we've seen it or how we've done our expansion is when we open in a new city, we probably will start from where more of the Indians are and then make our way inroads to have like sort of a safe expansion plan. Again, it goes back to, let's say, the diverse backgrounds we come from. We come from a family-owned business which is bootstrapped. So maybe a bit of a conservative approach. An alternative approach could be to start with multiple outlets.
That's a very
but yeah.
honest thing. Ankush.
Yeah, I think so. That basically there are two answers. Very honest. So we are in UAE, we are in UK. Totally agree. Biryani is a great market. I think GCC will be gonna be a big market for us going forward. But again, India is so deep. I think what we have is the largest population, and now when we are entering tier 2, tier 3, we are in now almost 130 cities, and I think we can go more. And the kind of consumption, the kind of opportunity we see within India, I think. Is a lot. So we are doing both right now. We are expanding GCC and India. And in UK, we have Behrooz already there doing well. So I think, but I think the next couple of years, I think India is still where we want to double down on because that's our market. But again, now there are a couple of brands we operate in UAE which are not in India. So I think UAE also help us try new cuisine in our model. So our model is built for global expansion. So and we keep putting cuisines. But I think India is where we'll focus at least for the next 2 years in GCC. Yeah.
Tarak, do you think one of the reasons? No, first of all, I believe our food and our cuisine is one of the least utilized soft power that we have, that we can use to, get the world to come to India. Right. Do you think one of the reason is that we don't have the confidence in our own food, or we are apologetic about taking our food to the Firangs? You know, today India is consuming everything from a sushi to a burger to a dim sum. But is the world really consuming your dosas and chicken tikkas and chaats?
Well, I think there's no reason why we should not go out and explore ourselves. Well, there are many parts of the world, specifically, for example, South Holland, London, for example, has amazing Indian food, although served by multiple people from various countries in Asia, but you have pockets.
They call them Indian subcontinent.
Yeah, it's an Indian subcontinent where we all go and actually gorge. And then you have, between Malaysia, Singapore, I think Southeast Asia has got balanced Indian food where you get everything from dosas to biryani and everything. We've seen it all. Yes, but the Indian diaspora has to go out and talk about it. I think we're also talking, I'm sure we are being from the restaurant industry and the national restaurant industry of India. We know that few of the brands are going out. I may not want to mention them, but from India, people are going out now.
I'm talking about aggressive growth. You know why I'm asking? Because look at these guys. You guys have created a beautiful range of restaurants and number of outlets in India. Why would you not replicate that model overseas?
I think I'll take a cue from Ankush also saying that India is so large. We have not just, for us, we are only at maybe a 10-11% of the place of India as of now.
Yes.
So that 80,
My friend, of course, we have 1/6 of the world population. Obviously, this is a huge market for everyone.
Yeah, but yeah, it definitely, our food can go overseas. And there's a huge potential for sure, I know. हाँ पहले इंडिया में थोड़ा पैसे ही बना देना सर वी आर इनटू नॉट
तुमने तो पहले ही बोला मैं पैसे बना रहा हूँ
थोड़ा
अच्छा anyways I'll like to thank my fellow panelists